and welcome back to Nerdy Nerds. Ladies and gentlemen, we are 5 days away from the release of Shadow of the Erdtree, and things are starting to get a bit spicy. Now, we have, of course, had people get in early footage of the game, so if you're one of those people that's watched that, I probably wouldn't stick around, as this is all for speculation, as I'm trying to stay away from any spoilers. So if you haven't seen any spoilers and you're down to speculate, then stick around, because this is what this video is all about. Now, over the last couple of days, Elden Ring on their X account have been releasing pieces of information for us to see and little pictures and snippets for us to have a little gander at. Now, there is also some information that has come from other sources that we're also going to have to dig into. So one of those things being the trophies and achievements. Now, this DLC is actually being released without any new trophies or achievements, which I think is quite a bit of a disappointment. Everyone's going to think differently, and obviously trophies don't matter to everyone, but the trophy hunters out there will be quite disappointed by this, and also it kind of gives you an idea of how people are doing. So obviously we know that there's certain requirements to start the DLC, so these being you have to beat Radahn and you also have to have beat Mohg. So currently on PlayStation Network, Mohg has a 54.71% of being beaten, and Radahn has a 65.25. Now, those are quite high in comparison to the Steam achievements, which are 38.9% for Mohg and 54.6% for Radahn. So it seems a lot of PC players are giving up a little bit quicker. It also goes to show how difficult some of these bosses have been. Now, I know Radahn was actually nerfed, which is a bit of a disappointment, to be honest with you. I did manage to play the original Radahn, obviously, when I first played the game, and then they nerfed him a little bit after. And he was very difficult, but I think he was beatable, and I'm not sure why Elden Ring actually went along and nerfed him, but it was something that was done, and it is kind of looked down upon by a lot of players. But it is quite a crazy thing that almost half of the players haven't beaten Mohg, which means that almost half of the players aren't going to be able to play the DLC unless they really get up and go over the next couple of days. So knowing that, we actually have quite a bit of information just coming from the trophy percentages for us to be able to tell who's going to be getting into the DLC, which I think is quite a cool thing, especially for content creators, and generally it's quite cool to know that you're in that 54% of people that have beat Mohg. But also, not having trophies in general means that you don't actually have like a list of bosses that you know you have to beat. Like in my mind, I knew that I had a list of bosses that I had to beat specifically for 100%. Now, it's all done now, and it would have been quite exciting to have that push to get a new 100%. I think that little element is going to be missing. Now, obviously, like I said, this isn't for everyone. That isn't a part that is going to be missing for a lot of people, but I think that is something that is worth talking about. Now, another thing we're getting, which has actually been announced by Elden Ring on their X account, is a day one patch and a new update for Elden Ring on the 20th, which is a day before the release of the DLC. So it's a day one patch for Shadow of the Erdtree, and also a general update for Elden Ring in itself. So what we're actually going to be getting is a new inventory update, which will give you an exclamation mark on new items that you receive, and also we'll be getting a new tab to show our recent items, which I think is quite handy. I think there should be an alphabetical order added as well. I think that would be really handy, especially for going for 100% items and spells and stuff. I think having an alphabetical order would actually be quite handy, but I don't think that is something that is being added. Another thing that's being added is we will be getting an update to summoning pools. So all active summoning pools will be carried over to New Game Plus, and all individual pools can now be enabled and disabled in a new map function that will be added to the map page. So basically we can open it up and we can toggle on or off on the summoning pools, which I think is actually quite a cool little function, and I'm quite curious of what else is going to be included on that map functioning page, because there is a few things they could add. Obviously, we've already got a chance to be able to see certain elements on the actual map, but if we can improve on the functionality of the map in itself, I know that will help a lot of newer players, but obviously anyone who's playing the DLC, I would assume are quite versed in the map already. So yeah, I'm quite curious how that is going to work as a whole. We have got a little bit of a sneak peek just on the screen here, but as a whole, I'm quite curious at what else are the functions they're going to be adding to that. Another thing we're going to be having are new haircuts, which can be altered or changed at the mirror, at the round table hold, or you can do it through Renala and her rebirth. So there's 4 new haircuts, I believe. We can only see 1 on the picture here, but I think there is 4 new haircuts in total. Again, this is something that is more of a niche thing. If you want to have a new haircut, wicked, go for it. I mean, I've got my favourite character, which probably won't be altered, but if I'm making a new character, wicked, I can have a new hairstyle. I think there's already quite a lot of hairstyles anyway, so it might already get lost in the mist, but it's always nice to have some extra customization. And I believe that is everything for the new update that is coming that we've been told about. There is obviously more stuff I think going to be coming, but that is everything that is in the mentions on their Twitter page. But then let's get into the pictures that Elden Ring have been sharing, because there's a lot of pictures they're sharing that they've not given any information about that I think are going to be absolutely insane when we get to meet these characters. And I want to get into some speculation with you guys, because a lot of the characters they're sharing, I haven't got a lot of information on. I don't know anything about them. It is all pure speculation, and I've kind of gone off what other people have been saying as well. And I'm not a historian when it comes to Elden Ring. I know some of the lore, but it is a lot of lore to go through and to remember, and I've got an awful memory, so I'm not going to be the one to claim that I know everything. So it does help to go through these and read through comments and kind of speculate with you guys to be able to come up with some concepts and some ideas. So I'm going to show you now the first image, which is a painting that we see in the gameplay trailer, and this guy is with a woman who looks like she could be a maiden maybe, but if you look at her carefully more than him for just a second, she is wearing quite a similar getup to Fia, the deathbed companion that we meet in the Round Table Hold, and we're not quite sure. I've seen some people online speculate as well. A lot of people kind of think that this guy might be Balderkin, the guy who's like you get his blessing from Fia, and I match this feeling. I think this is something that could be correct due to the fact of she kind of fits the getup, but also he is then in another image that Elden Ring have shared, because you can see that the clothes are the same, and that is this image here, which is, it looks like he's pulling his own skeleton or his own spine out of himself, and this could end up being some sort of sword. I'm not sure what on earth is going on, but he looks absolutely insane, and if that is going to be a weapon at some point, the spine of this guy, I'm 100% down for it. But yeah, this guy, I'm not sure if it is Balderkin. It looks like it could be, and if the deathbed companion storyline does get continued, then this is the way to do it, and obviously deep into the roots of what is going on and who they actually are as a whole. I'm not quite 100% on it, but I do think that this is quite a plausible person for this to be, and I'm going with the Balderkin blessing. But again, if you guys have any other ideas of who this guy might be, throw them in the comments. I'm down to hear it. But yeah, this guy, I think, is going to play quite a big part. And even if he isn't, and we just get the cutscene of him ripping his spine out of himself, I think that in itself is going to be cool. So yeah, that is the first image. Then we've got this image here, which looks to me quite similar to, do you know the rock worms that we get all around the jails? I think this might be like a ghost version of that. Don't quote me on that. Again, not sure what the speculation is on this. Not many people have spoken on this image. But it kind of reminds me of those rock worms. And maybe this could be the spirit of those rock worms underneath. It just seems to me like they look too similar. And they're very ghostly. And those jails tend to be quite ethereal. But I want to hear what you guys think, because these are the only thing that haven't really got much speculation on. They kind of just have their image, and people have kind of walked past it because there's so many more that people are interested in. Then we're going to get on to this firehead thing. I'm not sure what this is. For me, this feels like it could be something along the lines of, do you know how on Liurnia of the Lakes you've got those mages who just launch magic at you from absolutely miles away? I think it might be something similar to those. This, I think, might just be a generic enemy that we see around the map, but again, I don't know, could be a major enemy. It looks more like a generic enemy that's just going to try and halter our plans and try and kill us off while we're trying to do important things. I think it's quite a cool design, but what function he plays, we'll have to wait and find out. Then we've got this big giant fire thing. Now, this thing is quite a big deal when it comes to the trailer. We see quite a few of these guys scattered around, and especially in the big war that seems to be happening with Mesmer. It seems like these are playing quite a big part. Now, if we look closely on its body, it does have the head of a fire giant strapped around its waist, which I'm not sure how to take that. Now, the fire giants are led by the Fell God, the deity of fire. But how they play their part, whether or not they were used as weapons against the fire giants, I have no idea. Or whether or not the fire giants are kind of imbued within this thing, I really don't know. But having the skull of a fire giant wrapped around its waist feels to me like they might be the enemy of the fire giant, and more of a reasoning for their sort of lack of numbers. Obviously, we've only got the one guy left, which we then go ahead and kill. I am speculating. I want to hear what you guys are speculating on this guy. It does have its own little mask face at the top. Again, this looks like it's got some horns, so maybe it could be some sort of omen face. No idea. It feels to me like this could play quite a large part in the story, and I'm quite intrigued at what it's actually gonna do. Obviously, it looks like a basket of fire, kind of similar to the Forge of Giants, where we set the Erdtree aflame. But again, all speculation, and whether or not this guy is like a supporter of the same god the fire giant support, or whether or not, obviously, Mesmer with his flame abilities, whether or not he supports the same god, or whether or not he has an alternate god, we're not quite sure. I have no clue on how it's going to work, but he does feel like more of an enemy to the fire giants than someone who was working with them. So yeah, I'm curious how it's going to be played out. But let's get some speculation going on in the comments. And then we've got this thing. This thing kind of looks like an omen creature thing. Again, no idea what it's meant to be. It kind of looks like an omen on its back with like almost like a spidery kind of look. But yeah, this thing, a lot of people are speculating could be the gloam-eyed queen. And she is basically like the mother to all the godskins. But I don't see how she matches that description, if I'm being brutally honest. I'm not sure on who this thing is, or what this thing is. This one, for me, is probably the biggest curveball on what they all could be offering. But I don't see where they fit in with the godskins. Whether or not I'm missing a vital piece of information, but the fact that she is clearly an omen with all the spikes and horns on her, I feel like she's more of an omen-esque creature than something to do with the godskins. But I would like to hear what you guys think on this one, because I have no idea what's going on with this one here. This one, to me, is quite a strange one. And then we're getting on to quite a large one, and that is this image here. Now, it seems like this is Miquella. Now, there was some debate of whether or not it could be Marika. However, we have seen images in the trailers of what seems to be Marika, so I think it's safe to say we can write her off. However, this character here has long golden hair, a lot like Miquella and Marika, and also is wearing armour of the Golden Order, which, again, could be attributed to both sides. So the reason people seem to think it is Miquella is because of the fact of this DLC is going to be based largely around the story of Miquella and how they came about from the world of being stolen by Moog and having all the stuff of trying to be reborn, all this, that and the other. It seems like this could be their new form, although there is a mention of the fact that they don't have their spectral form or their human form anymore. So I'm not sure how they're going to be played about, and also there's not quite a lot of information on how they're going to be introduced into the story, of whether or not they're going to be an enemy like Melania, or whether or not they're just going to be almost like a maiden where they sort of guide you through your story. So we're not quite sure how it's going to run, but I'm pretty confident that this is Miquella. If it's not, it's just going to be some random character that we're going to be curveballed on. But it is looking very highly likely that it is Miquella. And if that is the case and we don't get to fight him, I think that's a little bit of a shame because of the fact of fighting Melania was such a big deal. It almost feels like Mesmer is going to be the Melania of this world, whereas I think it maybe should have been Miquella. But whatever it is, I don't mind. It will be cool to find out more about the story of Miquella, and fingers crossed that is who this is, and we can actually learn more about their story and move forward with more information and more lore into the world of how the Erdtree was made and how they came to be in the Shadow of the Erdtree. And then the last thing I kind of want to talk about is, obviously we've seen a lot of the images of Mesmer, but there's one big thing that I've noticed that I don't think many people are speaking about, and that is the snake element to Mesmer. And obviously we got Rykard, who was King of the Volcano Manor, or Lord of the Volcano Manor, sorry. And obviously Rykard has a lot of abilities with fire, obviously Volcano Manor. It kind of feels like they're on very similar paths. Like, Mesmer's got a lot of snake imagery, especially on his crown, and he has a big red snake wrapped around him. And also in the the pre-orders for like the special edition and stuff, the booklet that comes has snakes all on the edges. And I'm not sure if maybe they're connected to the serpent that is connected to Rykard. That, to me, feels like an obvious link. I don't know, though. Again, I don't know. Could be completely wrong. Could be making this up. But for me, that kind of feels like something that hasn't been touched upon. And I think it is something worth looking at. And I want to hear what your guys' thoughts is on that one, because that's more my own speculation than anything else. But I just feel like him and Rykard might be more connected than previously thought. But I really want to know what your guys' thoughts are. And if you guys have any information to kind of dig deep on that, I would be very appreciative of it. But yeah, that is everything that we've been given so far with the Elden Ring DLC. Obviously, people have got early access to the DLC, which I think is a little bit unfair that they're allowed to post about it. I feel like they shouldn't be posting. I think Red Bull Gaming has posted tons of videos, and I kind of feel like maybe they should have some sort of like quiet period where they're not allowed to post until the release. But obviously, we can't stop everyone, but unfortunately, the spoilers are kind of going to be on our horizon, especially if we're watching Elden Ring content. So, yeah, I hope it isn't spoiled for you guys who don't want it spoiled. I'm really trying to keep my eyes closed when it comes to any of the actual spoilers available. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for joining me today. Thank you very much. Let me know in the comments all of your thoughts and opinions. And yeah, let's drum up a conversation about this, because I'm genuinely extremely excited for Shadow of the Erdtree. And I know you guys are too. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you in the next one. Remember to like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. And I will see you very, very soon. Cheers!
If you enjoyed that video, why not subscribe?
If you enjoyed that video, why not subscribe? It'll help me and Natty continue to do the work that we're doing, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. Thanks!